welcome to my channel, Edible Thoughts Makes. My name is Stephanie, and this channel is where I share with you my works in progress, finished projects, things I'm cooking up, books I'm reading, funny things the kids say. My hope is that as you watch this episode and the previous episodes that you find some inspiration along the way. It has been a few months since I have been able to carve out time to sit down, preferably uninterrupted, but that's wishful thinking. I think the last time I recorded an episode was in November 2020. And then I did Vlogmas from the end of November through December to Christmas Day. And then I can't say things have been like particularly busy, like any more busy than what has been going on during this last pandemic year. But you know, it's typical busy for how we have been. We are into the second week of March, year 2021, and we have continued full-time distance learning in our household. I do strongly believe that every family has decisions that they need to make that work the best for their situation and for their family, and so to each their own on making the best decisions that we can given the options that we have. So doing that and takes up time, although I am very grateful for a very independent learner. But as many of you may know, there's technical issues that come up, or sometimes they need help finding things, or sometimes things disappear like windows and stuff, or stuff closes, or an update starts running and they need help. And anyway, just things happen. So you basically have to be on call 24/7. However, I don't have to sit like right next to my child to help them throughout the school day. They are very good at setting their timers and getting on when they need to for their live lessons throughout the day. We are also very thankful to have a great teacher. But yeah, so I feel like between that and then schooling, or kind of schooling, playing with our youngest one, she'll be turning 5 soon, so she'll be in kindergarten this fall. But we are basically doing preschool-like things at home. But yeah, so it's been busy. And then of course, there's always laundry and cooking the 3 meals a day and doing everything else that I can to keep myself sane, I suppose is one way to say it. But and like literally, because sometimes the days do just blend all together, and it takes some effort to just make through each day, and to find your sense of purpose to just like keep going and doing what you need to do. But yeah, so things are going fine, and I have been really wanting to sit down and record, and just watching some episodes from other podcasters and YouTubers that I really enjoy in the fiber community made me want to sit down and record even more. But just knowing I didn't really want to fight the interruptions, or just like things that were happening that would just make it more stressful, just made me realize that, it was not the time or place to be able to do that. And the more I would try to make it happen, the more frustrated I would get. And that's kind of defeated the purpose for me, because recording is really enjoyable for me. I like the creative process. I like being able to share what I'm making. I like to talk a little bit more about the projects that I am working on or have finished, more than whatever the character count limit is on an Instagram post. And there's opportunity for more interaction with others as well. But yeah, so I've been really wanting to get on here, and today there was a little window of time, and I decided I am just going to do it. I'm not going to stress myself out by trying to record like everything that I want to talk about, but I did jot down a few notes on things that I did want to share, and if I get to all of them, great. If I don't, that's okay too. I just wanted to be able to just sit down, hit record, and do it. And sometimes you just need to take what you get and take advantage of it. So I don't know if I mentioned, so this is episode 52. If you are new here, big welcome. And if you are returning, thanks for sticking with me and coming back. Show notes are in the description box below this video. I try to link to projects, and just a warning, they are on Ravelry. So if Ravelry is not accessible to you, maybe don't click on those links. And if you do have extra questions about any of the projects that I talk about, comment below, and I will do my best to try to answer your questions. And let's see, was there anything else? Oh, sometimes I may say something incorrectly, like maybe a pattern name or designer or something like that. I will do my best to write the text on the screen. And then speaking of text, I do go through and put captions on all of my videos. And so there are video descriptors and the caption that is automatically generated by YouTube. I do go back in and correct to make sure the words are all right. And yeah, there are some words that get changed into other things that like autocorrect that don't always make sense. So I do go back and look through all of that. But yeah, so I think with that, let's get started. I do have several finished projects since the last time I talked to you, but I will not be going through all of them because time will not allow it. I am very active on Instagram, and so if you wanted to see some of those projects that I've been working on and finished projects, my handle there is edible.thoughts.makes, and that link will also be in the description box below. And my Ravelry page is Edible Thoughts, no space, no dots in between. If you want to check out any of my extra notes there. And again, that link will also be in the description box below. Oh, one more thing. I apologize in advance if I speak way too fast. I already speak quickly to begin with, and it's something I do try to slow down if I'm doing any sort of like public speaking type of thing. But also just having young children at home and often being interrupted, you kind of have to get your words in as quick as possible. And so sometimes I do speak very quickly. On YouTube, you are able to change the speed. So I happen to listen to most podcasts on like 1.25 or 1.5 speed to be able to get them in, not because I'm trying to hurry anybody or rush anybody, and not because I don't enjoy them, but because I know my time constraints. And if I talk too fast, you are also able to slow it down to, I think, 0.75 or even 0.5 speed. Although 0.5 speed might sound really weird, like, anyway. So let's get started, shall we? All right, so I think we'll start with finished projects. One of the ones I really would love to share with you is the Greca Cowl by Cam. I believe she was saying Greca means like a strip, a design strip or border in Spanish. And this is a tubular cowl. So you do knit it in the round, and you knit this long tube, and then the ends are grafted together. So it's very seamless. And there's color work. I love color work. I feel like color work goes quickly because it's like you are knitting up this painting or tapestry that just comes alive before your eyes. And hers uses a pattern repeat that's the same throughout. So you basically learn it once, and I'm not somebody that memorized it and could just like keep going, but it was nice because then it would be familiar as you kept going. And then you had breaks of stockinette, and then when the color changes, you have these stripes in here. I decided that I wanted a bold contrast color for my color work, and of course I chose purple. If you've been watching a while, you may know that shades of purple I gravitate towards. Purple's my favorite color. It doesn't mean I don't like the other colors. I love lots of different colors. I love like browns, mauvey pinks, dusty pinks, coral colors, chartreuse, grays, warm browns. Anyway, I could go on and on, but purple is kind of my default. So I had this Malabrigo in this purple that I wanted to use. And then because the background color, you switch halfway through, but they never work like right next to each other as far as like in the color work goes. So then I knew I could choose pretty similar colors for my background, and I decided to go with these two lavender yarns. One is Lavender Fog and the other is Lavender Farm, and they're both dyed by Sarah of Less Traveled Yarn, also known as Traveling Yarn, and this is all fingering weight. So you can see like the Lavender Fog has a little grayer tone to it with kind of like chartreuse and blue speckling. And then the Lavender Farm has more of that lavender purple color, but also some like gold and blue speckling as well. Something that I advise for color work, and you don't have to do it this way, this is just the way I think about it, is if there's going to be color work and you're going to be using a speckled yarn, go with a light speckling, not like a super heavy speckling that has a lot of contrast. Otherwise, your color work, if your color work has like one stitch parts, it could get lost in your speckling. Now, if you're doing color work that has like bolder chunks filled in, I don't think it messes with it as much, but if you have ones that are just like one stitch here and there, it just ends up being too close to the speckling and it doesn't stand out as well. And so, yeah, I think it came out really nice, and I wanted the color work to stand out, but have the colors be kind of cohesive. So it's really fun to have like a little bit grayer and a little bit more lavender, and then the purple, of course, because I feel like purple goes with everything. The needle size is a US 3 and a US 5, so that's the equivalent of a 3.25 millimeter and a 3.75 millimeter. Yeah, I thought it came out really nicely. I did not use a full skein of any of the three colors. For the background colors, I used 73 grams of fingering each, and then for the contrast color, I used 62 grams. But yeah, it worked out really nicely. I thoroughly enjoyed this project. It was also nice because I could set out weekly goals. So I don't remember if I've talked about this in my past episodes, but I generally set little goals throughout to kind of keep me on track, but also keep me going. And I tend to have a lot of works in progress simultaneously, so it kind of rotates them through and then keeps it fresh and exciting. So because with this one, she has it written out in sections, I could write down, Monday goal, 2 repeats of color work, or, Wednesday goal, complete however many inches of stockinette or something like that. So it made it fun to keep going, and then I could also see my progress. Some people do these mini knitting goals as like time checks, so they'll say work 30 minutes on whatever project, and then an hour on some other project some other day. But I feel like for me, I don't always have set amount of, again, uninterrupted time. So setting a timer and starting and stopping it constantly would just be really annoying and really frustrating, because I don't want to be like counting 5 minutes here and there. So for me, it makes more sense to do it in blocks of the pattern. And then if I get to it, great. If I don't, oh well, it's like not really a big deal. I can just come back to it the next day or whatever, or come back to the project another week. But yeah, so that was one that I really enjoyed, and that one is published, so you can purchase that pattern. Let's see. Next one, there are a couple other test knits that I would love to share with you. However, they either haven't been published yet, well, actually, the ones that other ones I want to share with you haven't been published yet, so I feel like I can't really talk much about them. But maybe if I can get back on here in a few weeks, then I can share those test knit projects with you. And then there was another one I wanted to share with you, but I just washed it, so it's still wet. Okay, so the next finished project I'd love to share with you are the Oak Hollow mitts. I love how these turned out. I knit these as part of the Knit Along hosted by Denise of Earth Tones Girl and Mars of Hey Brownberry. And that was from middle of January until throughout all of February. And it was just a great way for everybody to be knitting mitts, like short, fingerless mitts or full-length mittens, and yeah, it was super fun. I find that fingerless mitts are so useful. You're taking pictures outside and you need your fingers, and then, I mean, beyond that part, the other practical part is like you're zipping kids' jackets up or helping them put their mittens back on, or, you know, lots of reasons. But they're also nice just for inside, and I can knit with them on and keep my hands warm. The yarns I used are sport weight. It's the Yarn Collective Rivoli Sport, and the purple is Henri Plum, and the orange is Amadeo Sienna, and then the dark green, if you can see a little bit of the green here, that's actually the Yarn Collective Fleurville 4-ply, and that color is Stem. Maybe you can see it a little better here. This was really fun because it's my first full color work mitt, and I did go down the needle size a little bit because my hand circumference, now I can't remember what it was. I think my hand circumference is 7 inches maybe, and then the pattern, it would come out to be 7.5 inches, and I didn't want positive ease. If I don't have those numbers right, it's on my project page, and I think I might have also shared some of those notes on my Instagram, so the project will be there as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. So the ribbing is on US 1.5 needles, and then the rest of it, it says for you to use US 2.5, but I used US 2, and I'm really glad that I did. I think it's a good exercise on knowing your dominant color and how you do color work. I will hold my dominant color on my left hand, and I knit stranded color work with 2 hands, so I'll do it English and continental, and then I always spread out my stitches on the right needle as I go, and that keeps the floats nice and loose. If you don't like catching floats, there are some long stretches in here, so I do recommend catching them, especially so that when you put your hand through, you're not going to catch any of the floats. I thought I did pretty good though. Here, you can see the inside. Those are my floats. I feel like they're very even. And of course, blocking also helps. I did not weave in all my ends, but that's okay because it doesn't bother me on the inside. But yeah, they're super warm. This yarn is a wool, alpaca, and mulberry silk, and it is super cozy. I really like it. Something else on here is a sewn bind off, and I did it correctly on one hand and incorrectly on the other hand. Now it's still bounded off, so none of the stitches are going to be falling off, but I don't know if I'll be able to show you here. I don't know if it'll focus, but on this one I didn't do it correctly. Like it doesn't really roll over, it just binds off. Whereas on this one, I did it correctly, and then the edge has that rolled over look to it. Maybe you can see better on the thumb. Compare the 2 thumbs. This one's correct, this one's incorrect, but they're both bound off, and they both serve their purpose. Another thing I wanted to share with you is, you'll see on here, so my left hand held the orange, so that's my dominant color, so that popped out. Well, on this one, actually I think I have these on backwards. I don't think it really matters, but I'm pretty sure this one's supposed to be the right hand because I finished the right hand second. So what happened was I put it down for a little while and I was doing some other things, and when I picked it back up, I didn't have my orange in my left hand, I had it in my right hand. And so here you can see that I had it correct. And then here there's a blip of purple that sticks out more because I didn't realize what I did until like 2 or 3 rounds later. So the purple sticks out more, and then I switched it back, and then now the orange sticks out like I want it to. Can you see that? Anyway, good lesson learned. And something else too, okay, side note here. Sometimes people say, and it's an effort to make you feel better, but say, oh, don't worry, nobody will notice anyway. Like, you're the only one that'll notice. But I have to put in, like, I don't know, a shout out to the universe or PSA or whatever you want to call it. I really don't like that phrase, or that saying when people say, oh, don't worry, nobody will notice anyway. Look, only you will notice. Well, why is it like not a big deal that I will notice? I mean, I'm the one who made it and I'm the one who will be wearing it. So shouldn't the only person like it matters to is me? So like, I don't care if somebody else notices or not, but if it bothers me, then like I would want to fix it, right? But if it doesn't bother me, then I leave it. Like, does that even make any sense? Like, I don't care what somebody else thinks about it because I'm the one wearing it and I'm the one looking at it. Does that make sense? Anyway, so I don't say that to other people, like say, oh, don't worry, like you're the only one that notices it, because I feel like it also like is like diminishes that person's like what they, not diminishes, what's the thing? Diminutive? No, that's not the right word either. Anyway, lots of words here. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. I just feel like you shouldn't discount the maker's thoughts on how they feel about it. And maybe that person does care what the other person thinks or what somebody else sees. But for me, I don't. And so if something bothers me, I will fix it. If something doesn't bother me, then I'll just leave it. But it's ultimately up to me. Does that make sense? Okay, anyway, I think I'm done talking about that. I love these mitts. Highly recommend them. They are so much fun. I love leaves, and this autumnal palette just makes me so happy. I'm always up for an autumnal palette. All right, so I think I'll just share one more finished project because the sun is going down and I am running out of time. The last finished project I would like to share with you are these. Let's see here. Yes, I realize it's another purple project. I have started out 2021 with a lot of purple projects. I love these socks. So I modified a free pattern. It's called the Lemon and Lavender Socks by Sari Nordland. So on her pattern, she has these stripes in there. You can kind of see mine. I kind of wanted mine to blend in with the variegation of the purple, even though they are opposite colors. But I did do the tubular cast on because now I am not afraid of tubular cast ons anymore. I did tubular cast ons for a test knit hat and a test knit pair of socks. And so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do a tubular cast on, no big deal. I do prefer the method where you use a crochet hook first because I feel like it's much less fiddly than when I tried it a couple years ago, not the crochet hook method. It was just like twisting all over the place, but this way it kind of stayed put more. But yeah, you can probably Google that, the crochet hook method for a tubular cast on. I knit mine out of Farmer Daughter Fibers, the March 2021 Sock Squad color, and it is in their Highwood sock base, which is an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. It's 400 yards per 100 grams, and it came with this golden mustard mini. I did knit the cuff longer than the pattern, and then I think the pattern has you do 2 repeats of this striping section, but I think the pattern says to do 3 of them, and I did 2. And then they have a short row heel written in, but I decided I wanted to use contrast color and do an forethought heel. And then I continued on with the striping pattern and finished off with the main color, and then did a toe that was exactly the same as my heel in the contrast color. And I calculated it out to be the 20 grams for the mini, and I had 1 gram left. So I win at Yarn Chicken. I have plenty of the purple left, so I could probably make another pair of short socks with it. But yeah, I really enjoy these socks. They fit really well. The forethought heel, so I knit in a few rounds of the main color and then knit in my waste yarn and then continued on. And then when I was like maybe 10 or 20 rounds into the foot, oh no, that's not right. Once I finished the striping sequence, but before I finished off the foot, then I went back and did the heel. And I pick up, so I do a 56 stitch count foot. or 56 stitch count sock. And so when I pick up for the heel, you pick up 4 extra stitches, 2 on each side. So then you do a 60 stitch for the heel, and I knit 4 rounds even, and then I start doing my alternating decrease round with knit even. And then I went all the way down to, check my notes here, until there were 20 stitches left, so 10 on the top and bottom needle, because I do this in magic loop. And then I do a decrease round one more time, so I have 16 stitches left, 8 on each needle, and then I Kitchener it together. So my heel and my toe, I did exactly the same. I don't know if you can see that. And it's really fun, and I think it fits really well. I think doing the extra 4 rounds of stockinette even before I even start the decrease rounds gives you just a little more wiggle room in there, because I think for some people, like this front area just may not have enough give. Like when you do a heel flap and gusset, you have all those extra stitches that you pick up, and so there's more room there. But when you do like a heel like this, oftentimes you have a shorter space here for where that heel is, and just depending on your instep, you might need more room. And so I just feel like just knitting those 4 extra rounds gives me extra space there. So yeah, I love these socks. They fit really well. I ended up using 19 grams for my contrast, and I only used 37 grams for my main color. So I have plenty of yarn left to knit another pair of socks. All right, so on to the works in progress. I think I have 3 that I would like to share with you today. Let's see here. Okay, we'll start with this one. So in this bag is the tulip jumper. Let me pull out my notes for that. Here it is. And this is by Melody Hoffman. And I've had my eye on this jumper since last summer, I think, maybe when she was sharing her progress photos of it, and then it might have been released in the fall. I can't remember exactly. But what drew me to it was there's this scalloped ribbed hem, which is really interesting. So it's just like a simple raglan on top. It's a top-down sweater, and then you can make it cropped or full length if you want to. And of course you can make the sleeves whatever length you want to. I'm doing full length sleeves. So here is mine. I just have this Monarch Butterfly Progress Keeper that I made to mark the front of the sweater. And I knit mine in the Yarn Collective Bloomsbury DK and the colorway Copper. I have alternated skeins the entire project. So even through the raglan section, there I just kind of did the traditional alternating of skeins where you like knit around and then you do the second skein, and then you kind of like cross over on itself and then go around. The issue with that sometimes is if you pull too tight, you kind of end up with like a weird tension line. Well, I hid mine in the raglan. I don't even know where it is. I think it's on this side. So I hid mine in here so you don't see it. And then once I got past the raglan for the body, I did helical knitting. So that's where you join the second one, you go around, and then 3 stitches before the yarn change, you slip those 3 stitches onto your right hand needle, and then you pick up that new yarn and then keep going. And then you just go around and around. So it basically is like a helix and goes around and around. So then you don't have like a seam anywhere, or a join, not really a seam, it's a join. So this is my beautiful sweater. I'm so excited. I have 1 sleeve done already. I don't know if I can get it in frame here. I feel like I always need my sleeves a little longer. Maybe it's because of the size that I knit. You might have shorter arms, but I have longer arms, so I always end up adding extra inches, several extra inches to my sleeves. But I am not doing any decreases. I did pick up 2 extra stitches, I believe, or maybe 3, I can't remember, in the arm pit area. And then I always leave a pretty long tail, at least 12 inches, when I join for the sleeves. That way I can duplicate stitch up any holes in the armpit. And it just kind of strengthens that area, especially if it's gonna have like a lot of pulling or moving around. But yes, so I marked every 10 rounds on the sleeves so that I can make the second sleeve the same. And then I decreased very quickly so that I can start the ribbing. And I just love how it turned out. I did do a tubular or sewn bind off for the sleeve. I think that's what it says to do in the pattern. It might not. I don't really remember. Let's see what else. These are knit on, the body is knit on US 8 or 5mm needles, and then the ribbing is knit on US 6 or 4mm ribbing. But for the neckline, I did a US 4 because looking at some of the other projects, it looked like some of the necklines were really wide, and I wanted it a little bit closer fitting. So I just decreased the needle size, but I didn't change anything with the stitch counts. So here I am on the second sleeve. I'm getting really close. Let's see, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, I'm at about 65 rounds, I think. And according to my notes, I'm doing 90 rounds on my sleeve before I do my quick decreases, which is not in the pattern. It's just how I'm doing it. She has you like evenly decrease throughout. And then I do my ribbing. So I am super close. My goal is to finish this sweater by the end of the month. I might even be able to finish it by the end of this week or next week. We'll see. I'm super excited to block it because when I did my gauge swatch, it's not in here. I thought it was in this bag. When I did my gauge swatch, I did end up matching gauge with her pattern. Now, in her pattern, you basically hold a DK with mohair so that you get a worsted weight. But I kind of wanted it to be a little airier, and I don't know, I just didn't have the mohair on hand to make the sweater, but I did have the DK weight. So I decided to just stick with the DK, not add the mohair. My fabric will be a little looser, being DK and not worsted, but I did get gauge with the needle size, so I'm super happy with it. Yeah, very excited. I did end up making a length that's kind of between cropped and full length, so I think it should hit like a little bit past my hip bone maybe, which will be perfect for layering, and I am all about layering, so I am very excited about this. I don't know if I showed you the bottom here. See, look, isn't that so fun? And it's gonna block out really, really nice because once it's wet and then I kind of pin it, I can pin it to be all even. It's gonna be really nice. I'm super, super excited about this. So very happy with how this is going. It is really drapey already right now because I just did kind of a quick steam block before I tried it on so that I could get an idea of fit for the sleeves. So that's why it's already kind of drapey, I guess. So yes, that is one work in progress that is almost finished. The next one I'd like to share with you is also a sweater. Let's see if I can find it in here. This is the hyphenated sweater by Jamie Hoffman, and it is in one of my really big bags. This is one of my attempts at log cabin patchwork block. I don't even know what you say, but they're all just random scraps of fabric, and I really like how it turned out. I am not a quilter. I don't have the patience for it, but I can do one block, and that's perfect for a project bag. It did turn out slightly awkwardly long because once you cut like for the bottom, or once you like sew up for the bottom part of the box bottom, it kind of gets narrower, and I forgot to account for that. So, but anyway, it doesn't really matter because it's perfect being long because the yarn can sit on the bottom and the project can sit on top, and it's just fine. Anyway, this is a colorwork sweater that I started in October of 2020 when I really had no business casting on a colorwork sweater. There was just a lot going on, but it's what I wanted to do, so I did it. And then I ended up having to rip the thing completely back. I mean, I didn't get very far, but I was still on the colorwork yoke, but I had to rip it back because I messed up so many times. And then there are a couple rounds on here that I've done multiple times as well. Now, in general, I am not somebody that likes to frog, rip back. If I'm gonna like completely frog a project and just move on, that's fine, but I don't usually like re-knit a project over and over again because of mistakes. And some mistakes, I feel like you can just kind of like knit two together somewhere or make one somewhere to like make up for a stitch that's missing or an extra one. But in colorwork, I feel like you can't do that. You mess up, it's really obvious, and it messes up the next round. So I've redone this several times because I really do want this sweater. I really do like the pattern. I really like the designer, and I just really want to make it work. So it is the hyphenated sweater, and this is what mine looks like so far. Isn't this a beautiful yoke? So this green yarn here is a lifeline because of all the times I've had to rip back. Lifelines are super important. And I just love how this is turning out. I've gotten it right now, and I might be a third of the way through. I think I'm about a third of the way through the colorwork yoke, and it is turning out really nice. The contrast color I am using is by Teal Torch Knits. It's dyed by Christina, and it is a gradient, so you can't really see the other colors right now, but it goes from kind of like a peachy to a pink to like a lavender to purple. Of course, it's purple again, but that part is on the inside. And then for the outside, I am using, or not outside, for the main color, I am using the Yarn Collective Fleurville 4-ply again. This is 100% superwash merino, and the colorway is Helibor, and it's like a tonal brown. I love it. I guess I'm really into brown sweaters right now. I don't know. Brown and purple, I guess. But yeah, I really like how it's going. I mean, I just kept messing up the colorwork chart and the increase round. Sorry, I have to stretch out my legs here. So my dark and my light color are flopped from what it is in the pattern, and so that was messing with my eyes, where I would like mess up which one I was supposed to be picking up for my main color and which one I was supposed to be picking up for my contrast color. But she does have written instructions on there, so once I followed the written instructions, it was a lot easier to not get mixed up. That doesn't make sense. A lot easier to not get mixed up. I just didn't get mixed up as easily. Because it would just say like knit however many stitches with your main color or knit however many stitches with your contrast color. And that part I have figured out. It was more so when I was looking at the colorwork chart that I would get mixed up between the dark and the light. But anyway, I'm really excited about that project. I don't really have a lot more to say on it, but I do love how the colorwork is going. And I don't really have like a goal for when to finish that. I really did want it for the spring, but I'm not pushing myself on it because if I hurry, then it'll probably get messed up again. So yeah, I mean, if I finish it, at least the yoke, in the next couple of months, that would be great. But if I don't finish it until the fall, that's okay too. Oh, something else I mentioned, something else I forgot to mention is there are little like pearl bump texture and like interest of texture type of stuff throughout, and I just omitted that so that I didn't have to think about it. So I have the color work, and then once I get past that, it'll just be stockinette round and round until I feel like the body is long enough. I'll probably do full length sleeves on it. I think there were two options for like a tapered sleeve or more of a balloon sleeve, and just based on what I typically knit, I will probably just not do any decreases, get down to the bottom and quick decrease ribbing. That might be what the balloon sleeve is. I don't know. Didn't get that far yet. So yeah, I think that's it for that. I think I have one more work in progress that I can squeeze in before the sun goes down. All right, last work in progress. This is the Dotted Rays shawl by Stephen West, and I might have also started this last fall. I started a lot of projects last fall. But my shawl is knit entirely in yarns dyed by my friend Shobha of Serendipitous Wool. She is inspired by nature for all of her colors, and that just really resonates with me. So this is how it is going so far. I am absolutely in love with all of the colors. Let's see here. I started this here. So this is the remaining of another project. It is Himalayan Wildflowers. And then this reddish speckled variegated one is from her Yarn Journeys book club that she does with Robin of Birch Hollow Fibers. And let me see if I can find my information on this project. So this one's called Not Quite Like You. And then this gold is I don't know if it's Lanka or Lanka, Lanka. If you know the pronunciation, tell me below, Lanka. And then this next one is Fierce. It's peachy with gold speckling in it. And I've just added in a 5th color, which is speckled peony, and that has like hot pink and orange and gold and a little bit of green. But I really love how this is knitting up. So basically my yarn management is I started with the ones that I had the least amount of, so that I could either knit it out and just switch when I ran out, or just switch when I felt like it, and save the full skeins for the bigger sections, the bigger wedges. I really like how the eyelets radiate out. I think that's really fun. I don't know if you can see it, maybe if I hold it against the wall there. So yeah, I love how this project is going. Initially, I was thinking I would do the small size, but right now I think what I'm going to do is just keep knitting this last color until I feel like it is at a good stopping point. And that may be kind of in between the small and the large size. And the nice thing is that you can basically stop whenever. So I'll probably just get to a point where that wedge ends and then do whatever the bind off calls for. And yeah, I love how it's going. Here, I'll see if, will this show up? This is this last color, and I just really, really love it. There's hot pink and orange and green and gold. I love how this is turning out. So, runaway yarn. So this project is one that also I don't have a deadline for. I'd love to finish it this summer. It is really fun because it's just garter, and garter flat is great. Needles are US 6 or 4 millimeter, and the size small, I think, has a 60-inch wingspan, and then the large size has a 92-inch wingspan. So I will probably end up somewhere in the middle. So we'll see what happens. The small is supposed to use up 720 yards, and the large uses 1,200 yards of fingering weight yarn. And I am keeping track of how much I use of each color, and then approximately how much is used per wedge. That way I have an idea of how much yarn I need for like the next wedge. So then I know at least I need this much, and then probably a little, like however many more grams than that. But yeah, it's super fun. I really like it. I think it finishes off with an I-cord wedge. There is a built-in I-cord edging as you are knitting, which I really like how polished that looks, and I'm pretty sure it finishes off with an I-cord edging as well. But yeah, that project is living in another bag that I have made. I love this bag so much. It reminds me of spring. I love the peachy colors and the golden colors. There's a beehive and bees and flowers, and then I use like a natural canvas on the bottom, and then cotton rope cording. And yeah, so this shawl is living happily in this bag. And I feel like that's all I'm squeezing in today. The sun is setting, and my kids have been super nice to me and not interrupting me for quite some time. They're giggling. I don't know what they're giggling about, but they're having a great time entertaining each other. Thank goodness they have each other. I mean, they fight plenty, believe me, but they do really enjoy each other's company as well, and I am so thankful for that. So I'm sorry if I spoke way too quickly, but I am so glad that I got to get on here and say hello. If you would love to share, I would love if you would, words sometimes don't come so great when you don't talk to people very often. And that's been going on for a year now. Anyway, I would love to hear what you are working on or what is bringing you happiness and joy and yeah, what's going on in your life. If you want to comment down below, I'd love to hear it. And maybe there's some dream knitting, dream crocheting, dream sewing that you want to do. I'd love to hear about those projects as well down below. So yeah, with that, cheers to being creative. Take care, be safe, and I will hopefully talk to you again. I would say soon, but it probably won't be soon. So I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.